Hello and welcome to Cookies Enabled, everybody. I am Will, your host. Normally I have Andrew here with me, my editor, but unfortunately due to work circumstances and life circumstances, he is not here with us today. So it is just me, and it is going to be a very interesting show. We have a lot to talk about. A lot has happened this week in a lot of ways, so we got a lot to cover here. It's going to be kind of weird just being me, but if you guys have any questions, definitely, drop it in the comments, pop up, let me know what's going on. And it does sound like my audio is working, so I might cancel my thing here. Yeah, everything sounds great. So I'm going to take this out my ear really quick here. I just wanted to make sure my audio is working since, again, my editor usually checks that out for me here. So our first topic that we're going to be talking about today was actually on CNN and probably every national network you saw this morning, if you turned on the news anyway, or a podcast or anything like that. Which was the JBS cyber attack. And again, we just finished talking about the pipeline attack. And actually, I felt like I was one of the first to report that because there was really only, I think the New York Times was the only one to report about the cyber attack on the pipeline. And the very next day, I reported on it here on Cookies Enabled. And then it was everywhere on the news after that. So I kind of felt like I had a little bit of a leg up there. I've been watching for these cyber attacks, and I feel like these are going to become more commonplace in this century, and we should just really be bracing for impact. Really, I need to talk to the companies out there, especially like JBS. You do massive manufacturing of meat products, especially beef, which was really hit hard. Pork was a little hit on this one, but nothing in compared to what we saw with this particular attack. It really went after the beef industry, and this is affecting almost all 50 states, maybe not all of them, but at least half of them. And so you might see a spike in your beef prices only because they're having to kind of catch up with the century of computers and get things updated and get things kind of nipped in the butt here. Really, this is an internal security issue. If you are a massive company like JBS, where you are sending food out globally, and in different countries as well, because this did not just affect the United States. That's what the media is leaving out. JBS also provides food for Australia and part of the UK, and they are also massively going to be affected by this as well. So prices are going to kind of spike for beef, and they usually do it this time of year. Memorial Day was just a couple of days ago, and that is another reason why, because of high demand. Now, you see more pork, I want to say, for Memorial Day, but again, it's personal preferences, you know what I'm saying? So it's interesting because these cyber attacks are going to become more commonplace, especially for companies that don't have the infrastructure. And that's kind of what I was hitting at before. These companies desperately need to make sure you are not running old Windows XP machines anywhere in your systems. Even Windows Vista at this point, it would be a laughing matter. So yeah, definitely get updated. Definitely make sure you're running good server backbones as well. So if I have to jump off here anytime today, it's because I got a lot going on in my personal life. I am going to be jumping back on hopefully later tonight as well to do another show. But I might have to jump off camera here in just a few minutes. But otherwise, I should be all set here. If you are afraid of cyber attacks at your current house and your current place, don't be. Again, just make sure you've got a good Wi-Fi security, and definitely make sure, we're going to talk about this again a little bit later with some other topics that are coming up as well. But for the companies out there, if you don't have an IT department with updated software and they've been bugging you about getting updates and getting things corrected for your system to prevent a cyber attack, listen to these people. They know what they are talking about, and it can be a big deal. Give me one moment to respond to this text message really quick. Anyway, so JBS attack, very big deal. Again, I don't think you're going to be seeing a huge price jump. Like, I don't think they're going to be doubling the price of meat anytime soon, but you may see shortages. You may see a hard time finding ground beef or specific types of beef in your local area. So be very careful there. Definitely, pay attention to what's going on in the marketplace. And for companies out there, get your act together. These hackers are they're ready and primed for attack. So definitely get your act in gear. Get your software patched. Get your stuff updated. Secure your boundaries and make sure that your people know where they're supposed to be, what type of technology they're supposed to be using at work, what to click, what not to click is also a big thing to cover for workplace strategies. Especially in this particular case, we are talking about ransomware, which can literally take over the entire computer and encrypt or double encrypt all of your data. And you better hope they don't double encrypt it, because that's a doozy. So thank you, CNN, for bringing us that information about the cyber attack that is kind of a big deal, and hopefully praying it doesn't affect everybody's meat prices like it did with the gas prices. So moving on, we have another topic here about space junk, which was also brought up by CNN. I have the article here. This is not the right article. Bear with me really quick here. Here we go, space junk. So this space junk decided to slam into the space station. Now, I say decided like it had a right of way, like, oh, there's the space station, I'll just go hit that today. No, space junk doesn't have, really any trajectory. It's just floating freeless throughout space and getting caught in Earth's gravity, kind of spinning around. And usually it eventually ends up crashing into our atmosphere, burning up, and just dissipating into nothing. Most of this junk is not very big either, and very hard to detect because it's so small, like maybe loaf of bread or smaller. And that's pretty much what happened here. So that's why there really was no warning system for it, because it wasn't a huge chunk of satellite just floating through the air, or I keep saying air, I'm sorry, floating through space and hitting the space station. This actually hit the mechanical arm that extends from the space station. So you see this in the article here. They are highlighting the part of the damage in the image there as well. Again, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you are in a vacuum chamber floating through space, these little tiny things going 20, 30 times faster than a bullet can definitely do massive amounts of damage. And so be very, very careful if you're ever planning on going to space on any of these missions. Space junk is a really, really, really big deal. And there are a few companies trying or were trying to do something about it. Now there's companies that are just like SpaceX dumping thousands of new satellites into orbit. So I did find a lovely picture for us that shows us the space junk that's currently in its positions around Earth. So take a look at this guy. This image here shows every dot is something, either a satellite, a piece of a satellite, part of something we shot into space that is either stuck in its position or is doing an orbit around the Earth. Doesn't seem like a lot. This isn't a 3D model where I can move it around and show you. If you don't believe me, you can jump to NASA's website here. They have all of this stuff listed. And it's actually getting a lot worse. This is one reason why when we're talking about the SpaceX S-15 launches and things, they have to make sure that there's clearance, not only cloud weather wise, but in space as well. Make sure that space itself is clear and there isn't going to be another satellite or something coming by right as you're launching into space, because that is not something you can just, let me just, you can't just drive around it really quick. You're going thousands and thousands of miles an hour. You have very limited control. You can do some maneuvering, but if you've ever seen the movie Gravity with Sandra Bullock, pretty sure that's what it was called. Great movie, by the way, really intense. It very much handles this kind of space junk nightmare that can actually occur. One thing I was interested in is if the space station had moved its trajectory based on the damage and hit, and it did not. The trajectory and everything was just fine. It was stable. again, it was just the rotating arm that got damaged. They will be able to repair the arm, luckily, within about a week or so. So it was pretty minor. But this is definitely something you're probably going to hear more about in the future, is that we've got a lot of stuff we have put into space, and it's becoming a problem, and we really don't have a way to just go up there and get it. A lot of people think, oh, well, it doesn't seem that hard. It's just floating in space. How hard can that be? You got to think in different terms of really relativity here. We're kind of jumping into Einstein's boat. When you're out in space, relative to you, it looks like you're not really doing anything, you're not really moving, when actually you're going thousands and thousands of miles an hour to keep up with the relative speed of Earth in its rotation and its movement. And that's why we take rockets to space, because there's really the only force of power that us humans have that can get us to that trajectory and speed and keep us in orbit for extended periods of time. And so you have companies back in the late 20-teens, 2018, 2019, we started to see some companies. One of them, I did pull up the website here, called New Age, and there's a few other global companies working on trying to pull some of these satellites back down out of their orbit that are still orbiting and probably will for another maybe 100 years before they burn up. So these are the kinds of things, if we can get those little things out of the way, about half of those dots disappear, which is amazing to think that we could really clear our skies. And it's amazing to think that you don't see a cluster of satellites, just floating around in space as much as we do. As future progresses and we get more into spaceflight, though, I think this could become more and more of a topic. I think we'll start to see government agencies stepping up to try and either retrieve old satellites and or save them, reboot them, get them into deeper orbits so they're not as close to Earth. We'll have to wait and see how this goes. There's a couple of different ways they can handle this. I've heard of them building satellites to bump other old satellites out into space, and they just float off and go wherever they want. And other ones that would be capturing them and bringing them back down to the planet. And I have a picture of one that would be able to do that, and this one was called Clean Space 1. This beautiful dish, let me see if I can pull this up for you, has a giant net that can come out and kind of capture the image. I'm not sure if you're seeing this. I think you are. Yeah. Okay, cool. So as you can see, a net extends in the front, and this kind of will scoop up. Again, this is happening at thousands of miles an hour, so this is not something that we could just do with a space station or whatnot. This would have to be precision. Plus, some of these are in line of the sun, so it makes it almost impossible for us to figure out exactly how fast they're going and what trajectory and where we have to catch them or bump them just right to hit them back to either Earth or out into space. But that's pretty much how this one would work. This little cube satellite they've been trying to correct for some years and have not had any chance or success. So this would actually be correcting this satellite's orientation and re-releasing it, and then going out to fix other satellites as well. So this is one of the ways companies are trying to fix this space junk problem. And we'll have to see how it goes, because I really do not know exactly how you can clean up all of this stuff. Even quickly would probably take about a good couple hundred years. So this is snail's pace here. So something to keep in mind. Space junk could become more dangerous here in the future, but we'll see. I got some other interesting news here for you. This one is for all you doctors and physicians, anybody that uses a microscope in a laboratory. This is going to be pretty revolutionary news. They have a new device now. Let me get rid of the space junk image. And I did forget to add an image, so let me add that really quick here. I'm just going to call that whatever, don't care, upload, whenever, sounds good. This is what we're talking about now. Sorry about this giant image popping up here. I'm going to fix this real quick. So, they have a way of giving you a new slide for a regular low-resolution microscope that will actually give you high-resolution images compared to what you're normally seeing. So as you're seeing you got two columns here. On the left column is a normal low-res picture, and on the right column you have a high-res picture. And this is specifically what we're talking about here. So, I mean, the first picture just looks like you're looking at the sun. You can't even really tell. And then, obviously, the picture next to it, you can obviously tell you're looking at a cell of some kind. Now you're getting closer into the fibers and really looking at the depths here. You can really see a lot of what's going on. And that's really awesome. So what does this mean? How does this work? What is this witchcraft that's happening here? Really what they ended up doing is they took special layers of glass that have different types of metal in them and silicon, and mixed them up. And so they actually help layer the light and not necessarily reflect the light, but bounce the light in a way that thins it out. So you have more refined light instead of just a blaring light like a lighthouse or something. It's more like a mag light where it's just a beam. And so that's what's happening here, is that they found a way to take a slide that you put onto your normal microscope that allows it to give you high resolution images without having to get a high resolution microscope. And the best part is you can use it on living tissue, high resolution images. And this is only 2-dimensional right now, but they are working to make this 3-dimensional, which is going to be pretty easy to do for them. They might have to re-lens a couple of cameras, and poof, you'll be able to do this. So this is huge. We have never, other than MRI machines, really been able to get a good look at living tissue without critically damaging it in some way or putting it in a vacuum, like an electron microscope or whatnot. So this is very revolutionary for anybody that works with regular microscopes on a day-to-day basis. Even you and me at home could potentially be buying slides in the future that give you high-resolution images of whatever you want to see on your normal microscope at home. So this is definitely a huge breakthrough. If I could pronounce the scientist's name, I very much would try, but I honestly don't know enough to be able to regurgitate that for you. But anyway, so that is huge news, very, very cool, and I think this is really going to revolutionize a lot of science. This is really going to help everybody that works in a lab or in a doctor's office, preparing labs for people, for living tissue, for biopsies. Massive, massive help. And this technology is definitely not going away anytime soon. I think this is going to stick around and help out a lot. So let me know what you think about that. If anybody works in a lab, I know my friend Dr. Helgerson is sometimes on watching, and this might be something that would be helpful for him. So, this could be pretty cool information. I got the web link here for you as well. Let me hide that image and see if I can get this web page pulled up for you really quick. There we go. So the light shrinking material that lets ordinary microscopes see in high resolution. And here, this is just how it looks, just a standard microscope, and they've got the special glass slide, which they show you here. And that glass slide is what allows the light to be reflected in such a way that it gives you a high resolution image versus a low resolution image. And they're working on 3D imaging for this in the future. This is huge, very huge. So I will post this in the comments if you guys would like to read that article, or not in the comments, but in our information section. And our last bit of news for the day, which is probably going to affect every person watching my channel. I know a lot of you own Amazon Echo devices or a Ring doorbell. And anything that has an Amazon tag on it is going to be really affected by this next news bit. So The Guardian came out with an article just a couple of days ago stating that they have changed their policy at, it really wasn't a policy to begin with, it was very hush-hush. But what Amazon decided to do was all of these devices are already wireless, so they've decided to find a way to make all of these wireless devices connect to each other. Instead of connecting to your wireless router, which they will still do, or to a 4 or 5G connection, whatnot. They'll still do that too. But now they're also going to talk to each other. So you're probably thinking, why would I want this? Why? So really, this is a big push because everybody's got those tile tags or air tags and things now. And so those devices need a broader spectrum of Wi-Fi for them to really work well and for you to be able to determine where your devices are and how they're working. But this is also more of a way for them to really secure the security part of their network. So when it comes to Ring doorbells, let's say your home network goes down, but your doorbell still has power. And maybe it's within reach of a neighbor's Echo. And that Echo does have internet. Now that Ring doorbell can talk to your neighbor's Echo, connect to the internet, and you can still check your Ring doorbell when you're not at home and if your home does not have internet for some reason. So that's really the idea behind this Amazon network, if you want to call it. But there is a huge, massive problem with this. Every company that I know of has tried to do what is known as mesh networking. And that is exactly what this is. Mesh networking is when every device has wireless capability. Maybe not super extended, but at least a decent range enough to connect to a normal wireless router, maybe 300 to 500 feet away. But now you don't have to be that far away. You can only be 20, 30 feet away. And now your devices can actually connect as like a daisy chain kind of all the way back to the router. So you've got your router connecting to this Echo, connecting to that Echo, and then they're all sharing the internet out through each other. And that is technically how that goes. I don't think this is a smart idea. You can opt out. Apparently it is a little tricky to do. The article in The Guardian explains how to go into the settings and disable this feature and opt out of this feature. I recommend everyone I know opt out of this feature. I purposefully didn't buy Amazon Echoes because Amazon doesn't have the same privacy standards as Google. And Google is a little bit stricter, and I don't think they would ever try and do a broad spectrum internet capture like this. This would also mean that everything on your network, again, would be going through one of these devices. It's not necessarily monitoring that information, but I can't guarantee that. And that's why, again, I would trust Google a little more than I would trust Amazon with all of my personal information. Because I know they're not going to sell it and give it away. They've never done that. They're not going to start doing it. I cannot vouch for Amazon. This feels sketchy to me at most. So I would say if you do have an Amazon Echo, an Amazon Fire, a Ring doorbell, any of the devices you see in the picture next to me that has an Amazon logo on it, you're going to have to dive into that settings menu that you all dread so very much and find this Amazon Sidewalk is what it is called, and disable it. It is auto-enabled at start, and you have until I think June 7th or 8th, and then it is officially on for all devices on start. So I don't even know if it'll ask you if you want this enabled, if you're like going through the setup and you just bought one or whatever. I doubt it. Something tells me that this was going to be a hidden, quiet, hush hush, don't tell the consumer this is happening kind of situation. So be very careful with your Amazon devices. I'm always really skeptical as to what I tell my Google device. And she's very helpful. I love my Google device. She does a great job being an assistant and stopping at that. I've never had her scare me or say anything weird to me or do anything that I didn't ask her to do. And I like it that way. Hopefully it stays that way. I know Amazon has had a different experience. They've had Amazon speakers laughing at them and doing weird things and saying things to them that they didn't request. That is sketchy. It sounds to me like there's more going on in the code than Amazon likes to talk about. And maybe Amazon's CEOs and CFOs and whatnot don't even know what's really going on in the background. And maybe this is just a techie guy explosion going crazy on steroids. I'm not sure. But if you got an Amazon Echo or any of these devices, please disable the sidewalk device. Unless you're in a real rural area and your internet is constantly going out and you've got a neighbor pretty close to you with an Echo device, you might want to leave it on. And then you guys could actually share the connection together, and it might increase your internet connection. Again, this just seems like an easier way for hackers to also access your local network and get keys and all kinds of information that they really shouldn't have access to at all. I have disabled all the Bluetooth connectivities on all of my Google home devices. So the only time they ever use Bluetooth is if I'm turning it on to access it on my phone. Otherwise, they're all disabled, and they only use the secured Wi-Fi connection that I have set up specifically for my Wi-Fi light bulbs and things. So nice try, Amazon. I think this isn't a terrible idea, but it's a little intrusive. In fact, a little more than a little. It's actually extremely intrusive, and I think this should be reevaluated by your company and probably put to rest. So hopefully that straightens that up for everybody. Again, this is a very short episode compared to what we usually do on Wednesdays. I'm going to be jumping back on hopefully later tonight, probably around 5 or 6 p.m. to do another episode of Cookies Enabled, and just to see if we do any different with viewers. So I want to thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If anybody has stopped by, I didn't see anybody click up on the ticker. But definitely drop a line in the comments if you have anything to talk about, maybe the space junk, the cyber attacks, the light bending technology. Please drop it in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. And I appreciate you guys. We should have a new episode coming up, hopefully this coming Monday. I'm going to try to get something ready for you guys. And we'll have something awesome for next week as well. So try to tune in later tonight. Otherwise, I will see you guys all later. Have a great day.